Just one moment. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It's already live. Okay, let me share. ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमोस्तुते। तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यो एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमो। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमति भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी निधि नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद सद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे,
Hare
हरे राम 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 हरे हरे।
Hare
हरे कृष्णा
Hare Krishna.
हरे
Hare
कृष्ण
Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण। So our entire teaching is based on teachings of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Sri Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. So let's start the remaining chapter of the chapter 3. So just a recap. So how chapter 3 started was, we remember that there were two verses to which Arjuna was referring to. One was with respect to Buddhi Yoga and the Sthita Prajna stage. So he thought that Sthita Prajna is a state where there will be inertia. He will go to jungle, he will meditate, and he will be in Buddhi Yoga, which Krishna later on reputed that no, the Buddhi Yoga is not about inaction, it is about action, but action in Krishna consciousness. So, this is one referring point to chapter 2. Other most important referring point or reference point of chapter 2 is, which is very popular one, and that is 2.47. Karmani eva कर्मण्य एव बाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्म फल हेतुर्भुर्मा संगस्त्व कर्मणि. So here also basically is the essence of in the chapter 2, which the action we see in chapter 3. Because what is the meaning of karmani eva adhikaras? Is that there is no right over the result of my work. So if there is no right on the result of my work, karmani eva adhikar, my right is only limited to the karma or action. My right is not at all on the results. So if that is so, what is the point of even thinking about the result? So therefore, the only way is to niskama karma. Now, that is how the karma is all about. So niskama karma ultimately will lead to Krishna consciousness or the real karma yoga. So let's start what we left at. Karma brahmodbhavam vidhi ब्रह्माक्षर समुद्भवं तस्मात् सर्वगतं ब्रह्म नित्यं यज्ञे प्रतिष्ठितम्. Regulated activities are prescribed in the Vedas, and Vedas are directly manifested from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Consequently, The all-pervading transcendence is eternally situated in acts of sacrifice. Before that, we had the which one? Which one was the verse? अन्नात् भवन्ति भूतानि पर्जनात् अन्न संभवः यज्ञात् भवन्ति पर्जन्यो यज्ञ कर्म समुद्भवः. So that was the sacrifice, or the cycle of sacrifice that we saw. That how Krishna gave the jnana as a sacrifice. From his sacrifice, the Vedas are coming as a knowledge. From that, the prescribed duties are coming, and for the prescribed duties, because of the prescribed duties, that is primarily the yajna. The rain is happening because of the rain. The grain is there, and grain we can make the beautiful food and offer prasadam, offer bhoga to Krishna, which we take as a prasadam, and the cycle is there. So the most important point is that sacrifice is the most important thing, and regulated activities are prescribed in the Vedas, and the Vedas are directly manifested from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there are two, three terms. Let us just understand. One is yajnartha karma. So the entire karma is supposed to be towards sacrifice only and nothing else. And so therefore there is no question of enjoyment. Point number one. Because if I'm thinking about enjoyment, then it cannot be a sacrifice, because whatever you are sacrificing, let's say you are sacrificing something for your friend, then that sacrifice, who will enjoy? The friend will enjoy, not you will enjoy, right? So when we sacrifice everything to Krishna, and that is what is required, because he is Bhoktaram Yagnatapasam, then there is no question of we being the enjoyer. So he is the supreme enjoyer. So Yajnartha Karma. Also in 9.27, what is there? Anyone remembers? There is a direct relationship with Yajnartha Karma in 9.27. Punalila Mataji, do you remember?
यत् करोषि यदश्नासि यत् जुहोषि तदासि यत् तपस्यसि कौन्तेय. Some I just forgot.
Right, right. Absolutely, absolutely right. So, yat karosi yat asnasi yat juhosi dadasi yat tapassosi konta yat tat kurusva madarpanam. Right. So, whatever you do, whatever you sacrifice, in fact, yat karosi yat juhosi. Juhosi is primarily the sacrifice. And whatever we eat, whatever do, whatever tapa or whatever, you know, sacrifice, austerity, whatever we're doing, just give it to me. Just surrender to me. So that is what the Yajnartha karma is meaning. And direction for such work are laid down in the Vedas. It is that therefore it is the Vedic based on the for the person who is not in the direct Krishna consciousness, then he has to go through the step by step, ladder by ladder path, where doing the prescribed duties ultimately the platform will be made, and on that platform he will go to the Krishna consciousness. However, he has to start from the prescribed duties, and there is no point where anyone, whether a karmi or a karma kandi. So either it can be a karmi who is purely doing for sense enjoyment, or a karma kandi who is doing primarily, of course, some punyas as per the prescribed scriptures, and then from karma kandi, let's say a karma yogi. None of the three has a choice of inaction or a choice of no sacrifice. All of them have to sacrifice, and that is the only way to be and to live by. The activity done under the direction of Vedas saves one from the reaction of work. That means it doesn't bind. And direction in the Vedas are directly manifested from the breathing of Supreme Lord. That's how the Shastra says. Shastra says what? Asya mahata bhutasya niswasitam edad yad rigvedo yajurveda samaveda atharva veda girishaha. The four Vedas, namely the Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharva Veda, are all emanations from the breathing of the great personality of. This is what is there in Brihat Aranyaka Upanishad. You can, if you have time, you can read it also. Although it is not required, as per Prabhupada, it is actually not required, because he has condensed everything in Bhagavatam and his writings. So Krishna is omnipotent, because he performs through, and he can perform through any of his senses. So Krishna can have a glance on the material nature, and the entire living entities will be formed there. They just and the entire, the nature, the material nature, just by one glance, all this creation will come into. So he doesn't need any different sense, or he can rather, I would say that he can use his eyes for hearing, he can use his ear for tasting, whatever. I mean, everything he can do, because his senses are transcendental. Unlike Mayavadis who say that uh, you know Krishna or God is formless. So God is has a form, and that is what the main point in this chapter 2 is, that God has a form. However, yes, at the experience level, it goes in three stages. So one stage was Brahma, where one experiences something like a light, or in a Paramatma stage, localized feature, and the ultimate experience is with the Bhagavan. So that feature is a personalized feature. Now he speaks by breathing air, impregnates by his eyes. Conditioned souls were impregnated onto the womb of the material nature. What he says, Aham bija prataha. Then he says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo. All this he's saying because he is father of everything. Now, why we are saying all this? That having all this, he is the greatest, he is the all potent, he is the supreme personality of Godhead with everything. But then he doesn't need to, in fact, he doesn't need to do anything, but he does. He says he is also constantly engaged in some or other work, just because he also follows the Vedic injunctions. He also, when he, he in the Krishna, where in fact in his Leela also, we see both Krishna and Balram were having proper guru, Sandipani, as their guru. So whatever the system was there as per Vedic scriptures, they followed. Krishna as a Bhagavan also, he followed everything. Why? Because he has to demonstrate. एवं प्रवर्तितं चक्रम नानुवर्तयतीह यः अघयुर इंद्रियारमो मोघम पार्थ स जीवति. My dear Arjuna, one who does not follow in human life the cycle of sacrifice thus established by Vedas certainly leads a life full of sin. Living only for the satisfaction of the senses, such a person lives in vain. So Krishna is rejecting the existence of such person who simply doesn't follow the sacrifice, who just only does for himself, like a miser. Karpunya dosha Arjuna was talking about, right? You can see this person, he's trying to hoard everything, whereas we know that everything, nothing belongs to us, not even the body. Everything belongs to Krishna. So what is the point of hoarding? Therefore sacrifice is the only way. Human life is specially meant for self-realization through karma or jnana or bhakti, ultimately bhakti. So through karma, then jnana, then bhakti, that could be the process of a normal person. But for a Krishna conscious person who has come to the fold of Krishna consciousness and the parampara, he doesn't need to go through the ladder. He can take the lift that we understood, right? Now, transcendentalists need to perform the rigid yajnas prescribed in the Vedas. They need not, because they are choosing the lift. Those engaged in sense gratification require purification by profound yajna. So therefore, yesterday we were talking about that some entities by default cannot get away from the sense enjoyment. They're so attached to the body, they're so attached to the senses, that there is no way that they straight away they can come. So therefore, these prescribed things are there so that the purification process takes place. However, for a Krishna conscious person, the this process itself is purifying. The chanting process, Sravanam Kirtanam, that itself is purifying process. So he doesn't require all the entire thing which is for the yajna, the full-fledged yajna process. So through performance of yajnas, one should transcend and become Krishna con. Ultimate aim is Vedai Sarvesya Aham Eva Vedya. Aham. Who is Aham? Krishna is Aham. So he is to be known. So now the 17 to 35, Niskama Karma Yoga. Why Niskama Karma Yoga? Because Karmani Eva Dekaraste. If the fruit is not in my hand, so there is, in any case, there is no point. That is first part. That is at least in the material platform you can understand that then what is the point? But Krishna says that is the only way to be. So there can be a thought in the mind of a Niskama Karma Yogi who has been said. Now we start, let's Prabhupada said us, already he has said that please, from tomorrow onwards, you become a Niskama Karmi. So what is the thought that is coming? The thought is, my prescribed duties are meant to bring material reward, right? I'm going to office or I'm doing a business, so some result will come. But I do not have any material desire in this life. Now that I have read Bhagavad Gita and chapter 2, and in fact, 18 days of session, now I understood that I don't have any material desire, nor do I desire Swarga Loka. I know I am not this body. Even that knowledge is also with me. I am not the body, I am the spirit soul. All this is with me. And then why should I need to perform my prescribed duties? Why? So there is an answer which now Krishna is giving. Now Krishna explains why one freed from material desire also should perform his duties. So, yastvat यस्त्वा आत्मरतिरेव स्याद् आत्मतृप्तश्च मानवः आत्मनि एवाच सन्तुष्टः तस्य कार्यं न विद्यते. But for one who takes pleasure in self, whose human life is one of the self-realization and who is satisfied in the self only, fully satiated, for him there is no duty. But this, there is no duty, but how to get this stage? That's most important. So, a self-realized soul, Atmaratir is what is the meaning? Because he is constantly thinking about Manmanabhava, Matbhakta, Matyadi, Mamnaskuru, Ananya Chintostamam, all this he is doing continuously. So, because of that, all impiety within his instantly is getting cleansed, and effect of many, many thousands of yajna performance, he's getting that. And he becomes fully confident of his eternal position. And what is this position? This position is I am the soul, and I am the permanent servitor of Krishna. This is established with him. So his duty thus becomes self-illuminated. That is called Atma Triptaha, and that is because of the grace of the God, and has no longer has any obligation to the Vedic injection. No longer interested in material and sensual activities. So obligation is not there. Maybe interest is also not there. However, he still we cannot be in inaction because he has to demonstrate. नैव तस्य कुतेनार्थ न कृतेनः कश्चन न चास्य सर्वभूतेषु कश्चिदर्थ व्यपाश्रयः. A self-realized man has no purpose to fulfill in the discharge of his prescribed duties, nor has he any reason not to perform such work, nor has he any need to depend on any other living being, as he is already Krishna conscious. It is what Krishna is saying. This is what a self-realized person doesn't has a purpose to do all these prescribed duties. However, ultimately what Krishna is saying, let us now understand. Tasmat asaktaha satatam karyam karma samachara asakto hi acharan karma paramapnoti purushaha. Therefore, without being attached to the fruits of activities, one should act as a matter of duty. Now he's saying, although it is not required, but one has to do as a matter of duty, for by working without attachment, one attains the supreme. We can see Prabhupada here. We can see he is not attached in any way. He's the greatest example of a perfect devotee. And he, in fact, works for 20 hours sometimes, and maybe 3 hours of sleep. At 12 o'clock night and 2 o'clock night, he rises and translates. Even at the time of his disappearance, also he was translating Bhagavatam, which we know that, Sparan Muktva Kalevaram. Uh, I mean, the full thing we can recite later on. So he is the best example. So Krishna told Arjuna that please fight, because Krishna wanted him to fight. And thereby, Arjuna is going to fight as an act without attachment for the result. So, what is that? No jaya jayo, no labha labho, jaya jayo. Nothing is required. You just fight for the sake of fighting. That is called niskama karma. That is perfect action recommended by the Supreme Personal Godhead. A Krishna conscious person has no attachment for the result of his actions, acts on behalf of Krishna. This is most important. Act on behalf of Krishna. Now, if you look at us, we are not in the battlefield, nor we are absolutely in association of Krishna like Arjuna. So, how do I ask Krishna, okay, Krishna, please tell me something so that I do it for you? This is not going to happen. But we have Shastras, we have Prabhupada, who has recommended that this is the way we should have our daily lives. So that slowly and steadily we can make our bhakti journey perfect. कर्मणि एव संसिद्धिः कर्मणि एव हि संसिद्धिम् अस्थित जनकादयः लोकसंग्रहम् एवापि संप्यसन कर्तुम अर्हसि. King such a Janaka attained perfection solely by performance of prescribed duties. Therefore, just for the sake of educating the people in general, you should perform your work. This is the demonstration of leadership. Now Krishna is talking about leadership. You are saying that if you leave the fighting scene, if you leave the battlefield, then what the others will think? Your enemies will think you are a coward. And that will be the example. The example of Dhanurdhara, the example of Sabyasachi, the example of Paramtapa is what? That he leaves the battlefield. That cannot be, because Krishna said that for a Kshatriya, not fighting is even more worse than death. So here the example of Janaka is there. Janaka is an exalted soul and a pure devotee, is in 100% pure Suddha Sattva in the Krishna consciousness. However, he was known for his non-stop prescribed duties, which he was doing for his praja. Why he was doing? Because to demonstrate that this is what a king is supposed to do. Kings like Janaka were all self-realized souls, had no obligation to perform the Vedic duties. They, they do not have because they are Krishna conscious, but they performed all prescribed activities just to set examples for the people in general. The Lord and Arjuna had no need to fight because Janma Karma Cha Me Divyam. But still, Janma is also, of course, it is not Janma, it is called appearance for Krishna, for Prabhupada, it is appearance and disappearance, not Janma and Mrityu. So, even if it is not there, still we have his appearance and disappearance. That is the Janma. And also there is karma, the Leelas, the entire Leela we see. Everything is happening. If this Leela, this part was not there, this scene, this arrangement was not done by Krishna, then we would not have got this Bhagavad Gita with us and would not be so fortunate to discuss on an online platform like this. So they fought to teach people that violence is inevitable when good arguments fail. Lot of arguments happened right before the battle. They wanted to settle also. Even Krishna went for a negotiation. Everything failed. So now violence is inevitable. While the Lord tried to avoid war, the other party was determined to fight. Although not interested in worldly affairs, a Krishna conscious person has to work to teach others how to live. This is applicable for us. If we are saying we are Krishna conscious, we are in the path of Krishna consciousness and doing as per the sadhana bhakti, at least with the start, then this is fully applicable to us, that whatever we do, whatever we say, whatever we hear, whatever we're doing with all our five senses becomes a demonstration to others. So this is very important. But then there is something opposite is also there, which is going to come. That if somebody is a fully, karmi and engaged in fruitive work, what a Krishna conscious person is supposed to behave in what way, that is also going to come. Let's just go ahead. So experienced persons in Krishna consciousness can act in such a way that others will follow, and this is explained in the following verse. What is the verse? Yes, the verse is Yad Yad Acharati Srestha Sadat Eva Itaro Janaha Sayat Pramanam Kurute Lokastad Anuvartate. Mahajanayenaha tatasya pantha. So whatever action a great man performs, common men follow. And whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursue. This is absolutely valid today, yesterday, in the farther past as well, and will also be applicable in the future. That there will be leaders and there will be followers, and there will be always, and there will be something leaders have to always demonstrate how to lead and lead by examples. And what our Shastra says, English says something. English says what? Like, you should walk the talk. You must have heard this, right? But then Gita says something else. It says it is not about just walking the talk, it is about kayena manasa vacha. So what body is saying, there's kayana, and manasa, what mind is thinking, and what the mouth is speaking, all have to be synchronous. And then that becomes the right way to do. Name parthasti kartavyam trisu lokesu kinchana nanavaptam avaptavyam vartaeva cha karmani. O son of Partha, there is no work prescribed for me within all these three planetary systems, nor am I in want of anything, nor have I need to obtain anything, and yet I am engaged in prescribed duties. So Krishna is saying all this. You can see Krishna has so much Leela. The Gopal Leela is so beautiful. So many things he has done. He has lifted the Govardhan mountain. He is, dancing on Kalya, Vakasura, Agasura, so many, the Putana. I mean, so many things he was doing as a child. But he's saying, Janma Karma Cha Me Divyam. I don't need. Everything is there. But all this I am doing because I have to create example. Hare Krishna. So why does the Lord need to work? All this we have discussed. He is the greatest of the great. Nobody is greater than him, and nobody is equal to him. He is the controller, Sarvaloko Maheswaram. He has got all the powers. All the demigods report to him. There is, he is absolutely multifarious potencies. All that is there. Yet Lord Krishna is engaged on the battlefield of Kurukshetra as a leader to protect the distressed. And who is the distressed? Arjuna, a performing role model indeed. So you will not find a performing role model. That means role model with action. And the chapter name is Karma, Yoga. Yadi hyayang na vartyayam jatu karmanya tandritaha yadi hi aham na vartyayam jatu karmani atandritaha मम मम वर्तमानुवर्तन्ते manushya partha sarvashah. For if I ever fail to engage in carefully performing prescribed duties of Partha, certainly all men would follow my path. So if Krishna does anything, then others will automatically follow. So and then what will happen? We know, right? There was a parampara which was there in 120 million years before also, where he gave it to sun god. But after that, he gave it to sun god, sun god gave it to whom? Manu, Manu gave to Ikshaku. So all that happened. But after that, Kalaneha Mahata Yoga Nastha Parantapa, right? So it had got destroyed. So why the parampara got destroyed? Because somewhere down the line, some leader who is supposed to lead had not led properly. Something he has not demonstrated properly, and thereby that parampara got lost. So he has to again come, again appear and re-establish. Dharma Sansthaparanathaya Sambhavami Yuge Yuge. That is the reason why he is coming. So Lord Krishna performed all the religious duties as required of a householder. For the common man to follow in his footsteps, he being the greatest authority. Hare Krishna. Thereby ensured progress in spiritual life of common man. The Lord followed the rules and regulations prescribed for conditioned souls, although he had no need to, as he had descended to establish the principle of religion. All this we have understood. Now, उस्सिदेयुर इमे लोका न कुर्याम कर्म चेद अहम संकरस्य च कर्तास्यम उपहन्याम imaha prajaha. If I did not perform prescribed duties, all these worlds would be put to ruination. It will be ruined. I would be the cause of creating unwanted population, that is the Varna Shankara, and I would thereby destroy the peace of all living beings. Uh, so Krishna says that I have to be an example, because the moment I cease to not perform my prescribed duties, then the entire creation is going to be, going to be to the ruins. And this is the everything. See, in any case, as per the plan, it will happen. The dissolution will happen, creation will happen. One yuga will go to the next yuga. All this will happen, but that will happen as per plan, not because of inaction. It has to go as per the plan. Okay, all this we have understood. So, Saktah Karmani Abhidvamsho Yatha Kurvanti Bharatah Kuryat Vidvams Tatha Saktas Chikirsurloka Sangraham. As the ignorant perform their duties with attachment for to results, the learned may similarly act but without attachment. So, a normal person also goes to office, a Krishna conscious person also goes to office. He also does the same work. The Krishna conscious person also does the same work. For example, Prabhupada, we see on the right side of the picture, he is using a dictaphone, and that is for, so that's a material object, but he's using for, he's recording the Bhagavatam, he's recording so many things, his lectures, which is available now for us. So he has used the material object, for that material object has become spiritual or transcendental, because of the kind of usage it has. So it has been spiritualized because it has been used for Krishna consciousness. So therefore, it also falls into the category of Yukta Vairagya. It doesn't have attachment. A Krishna conscious person is always engaged in activities that satisfies Krishna. Does not do anything non-conducive to development of the Krishna consciousness. And an ignorant person is too much attached to mental activities and sense gratification. It is important that the Krishna conscious person demonstrate to the ignorant how to act in Krishna consciousness, so that the example is there. So if you look at both the persons, so on the right hand side, we see a ignorant person. Ignorance is what? Ignorance is not having the knowledge of the body and the soul, and thinking that body is everything, and there is no connection between the soul and super soul. There is no connection between, what is the connection? Connection is a yoga. So there is no knowledge, and that is called avidya, and that is called ignorance. So he is engaged in all sensual activities. As you can see, there is car, there is woman, there is, I think, so many sense objects are there. So he's working with attachments to, for, and it is going to fruitive results. So he's running, you know, may, coming back to the earth again and again and again. But what, and all this is happening due to what? This is primarily happening due to a difference in desire. And what is that difference? The difference is this person is trying to satisfy his own senses, that is his desire, and the Krishna conscious person's desire is to satisfy the senses of Lord Krishna. So desire is there, but the type of desire is different. It is not that Krishna conscious person is desireless, unlike what Mayavadis, try to say, which is which is not the fact. As Krishna always says, that soul is always in action. So it will find there has to be some way, and some engagement that we have to give. It has to be engaged with some rasa, with some exchange of some rasa with Krishna. Otherwise, and again, it will fall down. So he does what? He does yat karosi, yat asnasi, yat juhosi, dadasi, yat everything. Patra Puspam Phalam Toyam. Everything is doing for Krishna. Work without attachment of the fruits. We saw people who go. We know all the Krishna. ISKCON. You look at all the devotees, how non-attached there, and why. Also to set example. So no buddhi vedam janaye, na buddhi bhedam janayed, jnanam karma sanginam, jaso yat sarva karmani, vidwan yukta samacharan. So as not to disrupt the minds of ignorant men attached to the fruitive results of the prescribed duties, this is very important. Just look at this sentence, very important. so as not to disrupt the minds of ignorant men attached to the fruitive results of prescribed duties. A learned person should not induce them to stop work because they are slowly and steadily going in their path. You cannot bring them instantly. So it is better that we should not induce them to stop work. That you stop work and uh, in any case, nobody can there is no existence without work. Rather, by working in the spirit of devotion, he should engage them in all sorts of activities. This is what we should tell them, or rather, Krishna conscious person should tell them that you do your duty. Because if Varnashrama Dharma is not there, then creation will not be there. Everybody has to do their own duty as per the Varna and the Ashrama. And the Varna is Ashrama is, of course, not based on the birth that we know very well because it is Guna Karma Vibhagasa that is there, right? So, and it is also there in present society. So nobody can say that the Varna and Ashrama is not there in present society. In present society also, there are intellectual classes in all the societies, all the religions, all the nations, everywhere. There is an intellectual class which thinks, which always. So they're the you can say the kind of who gives the knowledge, of course, may not be the spiritual knowledge, but at least give the knowledge. So that you can say, and who are in the sort of sattva is are the Brahminical class. There is also a mercantile class in every nation, every religion, every you know everywhere. So that is Bhashyan. And there are people who protect. There are armies, there are securities, industrial securities. So many things are there. And who are they? They are primarily Kshatriyas, based on their guna and their karma. And there are also service. The entire service industry is what? I mean, in fact, in Kali Yuga, we are all, everyone is supposed to be a Sudra because we have not developed other qualities as is prescribed by the Vedas. And slowly we are developing those qualities. And now that we have come to Krishna consciousness, straight away a Krishna conscious person, as per Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is that if a person is perfected in a Krishna consciousness, it doesn't matter. He is the highest class of Brahmana. He is प्रकृते क्रियमाणानि गुणैः कर्माणि सर्वशः अहंकार विमूढ़ात्मा कर्ताहमिति मन्यते. अहंकार विमूढ़ात्मा कर्ता हम इति मन्यते. अहम कर्ता, when I am the doer, iti manyate. So he is thinking. Manyate is thinking. What he is thinking? That aham karta, I am the doer. Who is thinking? Ahankara vimudhatma. Because he is bewildered by the false ego, so he is thinking that he is the doer. However, who is the doer? Prakrute kriyamanani gunaihi karmani sarvasaha. So primarily the three modes of nature are the doers. That is this, that the spirit soul bewildered by the influence of false ego thinks himself the doer of activities that are in actuality carried out by the three modes of material nature. And you can see on the right hand side picture, we are like the puppets, and the three deities are basically Sattva-guna, Raja-guna, and Tama-guna. And uh, every living entity who are in the conditioned life, we're not talking about who is in a perfect buddhi yoga stage. In the conditioned life, everyone is controlled by some guna, some portion of Sattva guna, some portion of Tama guna, some portion of Raja guna. So every activity that we were doing, whatever we're speaking, whatever we're thinking, uh, whatever we're doing, whatever we're smelling, whatever activities we're doing, whichever behavior we're doing, the you know best of the psychologists and the best of the HR professional would may give a lot of theories that this is what the behavior pattern is, whatever this and that, based on moves. But ultimately what Krishna is saying that all these are coming purely just because of the gunas and nothing else. And therefore Krishna says daivi esha gunamai mama maya durattaya. Then after that, what is the second line? Anyone remembers? Mameva ye prapadyante maya metam tarantite. So my this illusory power is very, very powerful. It is very difficult to overcome it. Only who surrenders to me can overcome it. So a material conscious person under the influence of false ego thinks he is a doer of everything. He's ignorant, he's gross and subtle bodies. So gross body is made up of what? Hare Krishna. Let us have some question answer, otherwise it becomes so monotonous. Hare Krishna. So what are the elements of gross body? Anyone? Jai Sri Mataji. Anyone? I cannot see. I have to get out of the screen so that I can see. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, Prabhuji.
So what are the elements of the gross body? No one wants to answer? Okay, so earth, water, air, fire, and ether, right?
Five elements, sir.
Yes. Earth, water, air, fire, and ether are the five gross elements. And what are the subtle, and that's the part of the gross body. And what is the subtle body part of? What are the three elements of subtle body? Mind, intelligence, and ego. Right. And those are created by material nature under the supervision of Supreme Lord. Takes all credit for his doing, a symptom of his nescience. Because he doesn't know, so therefore he thinks that he takes the credit that I have done it. I have done this achievement, whatever I've done this, whatever, even the sports person or any great person, scientist or somebody cracks IIT or medical or whatever. I mean, whichever you think that is something, great. That is primarily he's not doing. In fact, in the 18 days, we know that there are five factors for anything to happen. Which are the five factors? Anybody remembers? Okay, we'll discuss. I think so many questions will confuse. Okay. Doesn't think is born. Okay. Due to long abuse of his senses in sense gratification builded by the false ego, forget this eternal relationship with Krishna. So, who is a Tattvavid? Now let us understand who is a Tattvavid. So, Tattvavid tu Mahabaho, Gunakarma Vibhagoyoho, Guna Gunesu Vartanta, Iti Matvana Sajjate. One who is a knowledge of absolute truth, Almighty Arm, does not engage himself in the senses. So if we are engaging in senses, then definitely we are not in absolute knowledge. As simple as that. And sense gratification, knowing well the difference between work in devotion and work for fruitive results. So the knower of the absolute truth knows he is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord Krishna. He knows he has to dovetail his activities in a devotional service to the Lord. What is a dovetailing? Dovetailing is primarily, I'll be doing the same thing, but I'll put Krishna in the center stage in the sense that if I'm doing, we have explained it, I think, many times, but still, I think it is important to bring this point more and more and more so that we don't forget it. I may also forget it. So it's not that. So I'm also hammering myself. Yes, everything that I'm doing, if I'm doing this, let's say now talking, this is also supposed to be for Krishna, ultimately. If I'm going to the office, then if I'm earning something, that is also supposed to be for Krishna. So that something I should, have for Krishna. That is called dovetailing the activities, like the dictaphone that he's using this laptop, using everything for Krishna is called dovetailing the activities for devotional service. So engaging in the activities of Krishna becomes naturally unattached to material activities. Tattvavid is a person who knows about the three stages of Brahman Bhagavan realization. Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan feature. He knows about this. He is a Tattvavid. And he also knows his factual position. And what is a factual position relationship? We are the permanent servitor of God, Krishna. In fact, when he say God, when in fact ISKCON was made, Prabhupada was asked, uh, you know, because ISKCON he made just within 1 year of his arrival in US, right? So then he was asked that why you are not calling it International Society of God Consciousness? Why and why ISKCON? Why Krishna consciousness? Then he said that if I know you, then I'll not call you, hey, Mister, hey, you. I'll not say like that. No, I'll say Punalila Mataji. I'll say Sudhir Prabhuji. I'll say Jai Sri Mataji. Right? If I say that, so I know who is God. I know Krishna. So I know it. So prakrute guna samruddha sanjate guna karmasu tat akritsna vido mandan kritsna vinna vichalayet. So bewildered by the modes of, so there is a term called mandan, means mandaha. So who is called a manda? Manda is a person who is lazy. And why he is lazy? Because he is not Krishna conscious. This is a very beautiful definition, that all this laziness and other things which are part of the tamaguna is coming because somebody is not Krishna conscious. So bewildered by the modes of material nature, the ignorant fully engage themselves in material activities and become attached, like the person on the right hand side. He's he's counting the notes, he's thinking about the notes, he's sleeping with that, he's waking up with that, everything he's doing for this. Now there is a caution which is given here. But the wise should not unsettle them, should not go and tell them, "Why, what you are doing? This is all nonsense. Please don't do it." Just slowly and steadily they have to be settled, not abruptly. Although these duties are inferred due to the profound lack of knowledge. So what happens is in the excitement when we join ISKCON, many times we do like that. That we see others as if they're fools and we are superior. Whereas what what our acharyas actually teach us is Tarurapi Sausnuna and Hare Krishna. I need some support when I say something. So one in too much bodily conscious is called manda or lazy person. So if he's thinking about only the body, my body, my you know my enjoyment, my bungalow, my car, this and that, my phone, whatever, all this, then he's supposed to be lazy. Although he looks like from the worldly perspective, he might look like he's constantly in motion or always doing something, but actually he's lazy because he's ignorant of the spirited soul, except only bodily connections with others. Mama kaha, he's part of the mama kaha. They consider the formalities of religions, rituals to ends themselves. Always materially busy like social work. So all these regions they will find out: social work, nationalism, altruism, this and that, something or other they're doing, but not at all interested in soul and super soul. Not interested in Krishna. Not interested in anything. They will find some or other reason to get engaged. Think spiritual realization is a myth, and there are also plenty of people around them who also convince them that yes, what you are thinking is right. And not only that, even to us who are in Krishna consciousness, at least trying to be in Krishna consciousness, at least all of you who have tried to get level 1, then also trying to be in level 2, trying to be nearer to Krishna. These people say that what you are doing, you are actually you are simply wasting your time. You do something, you read some good novels, you go to movie, you do something else. There is enjoyment. Vasmibhutasya sarirasya punaragamanam kutaha. This is Charbak's, philosophy. Javat jivet, sukham jivet, runam kritya, hrutang pivet, bhasmibhutasya sarirasya punaragamanam kutaha. Think spiritual realization is a myth. Lord says for those who are enlightened in spiritual life should not agitate them and waste their time on them. So this last line is very important. Let me read it again, once again. Lord says for those who are enlightened in spiritual life, we're trying to be at least. It may take many, many births, but at least we have started our journey. Then Krishna is saying that we should not agitate them and waste their time on them. This is a caution. Mai sarvani karmani, Mai sarvani karmani, sanyasya adhyatma chetasa, nirasir nirmamo bhutva, idhvasva vigata jvaraha, yuddhasva vigata jvaraha. So now he's saying fight. Fight while having all these thoughts, or while having this state of mind, while having all this state of mind, fight. And what is this state? First, my sarvani karmani sanyasya. Surrender all work unto me with full knowledge of me. Knowledge of me, knowledge of Krishna is what? He is Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. He is Ham Sarvasya Prabhu. And what Arjuna said, Param Brahma Param Dhamam Pavitram Paramam Bhavan. That is Krishna. And full knowledge of me with desires for profit, without any desire of profit and with no claims. Ishavasam idam sarvam. No claims. We don't have anything, not an atom. Entire body, not a single molecule will left out when we leave the body. Everything will go to the earth. Okay. In fact, in 18.66 also, Krishna says that Sarva Dharman Parityajamam Ekam Sharanam Braja. So a glimpse of it has come in 3.3 as well. So Adhyatma Chetasa is a fully Krishna conscious person. Nirasir means that one has to act on the order of the master but should not accept fruitive result. Nirashir means no asha primarily. Nirmama is that nothing is mine. Nirmama. Mama is mine. So nirmama is nothing is mine. So everything belongs to Krishna. Isavasam idam sarvam yat kincha yagatyam jagat. Vigata jura is without any fever or throw off the reluctance to execute a stern order without febrile mentality or lethargy. So with all this, because in fact Arjuna had given such symptoms, some of the symptoms like shivering and other things which has come, which is part of some fever like malaria and all. I mean, just an example I'm saying. So this will lead one to the path of liberation. So this is the analysis of text 30. So what is the purpose of Bhagavad Gita? Number one is Krishna is saying, surrender to me. Sarva dharman paridija mam ekam saranam praja. Surrender all your work unto me. So you do everything in yukta vairagya. Then with full knowledge of me. Who is Krishna? We know him. Without desires for any profit. So only desire is to please his senses. With no claim of proprietors. Nothing is mine. Everything is yours, Krishna. Everything is yours. And free from lethargy. And thereby you can fight. So you cannot fight if you do not have these four. So these four are important so that you can fight. And here fighting would not mean only the fighting which is done by Arjuna. All the fights, all the struggles, everything that we're doing in our normal lives today is also part of the fight. Unless the lethargy is out, unless the jwara is out, the fever is out, we can't fight. And the jwara will be out only if these four things will happen. Surrendering to him with full knowledge, without any desire of profit, and with no claim. Then the fighting spirit will come. And the real fighting spirit, that is fighting for the sake of fighting. Yeme matam idam nityam anutishtanti manavaha sraddhavantam anasuyanto muchante te api karmabhihi. Those persons who execute their duties according to my injunctions and who follow this teaching faithfully without envy is most important, become free from the bondage of fruitive actions. All the demons are destroyed because of only one thing, that is envy, because they envy Krishna. All the demonic persons, first thing is that they will envy Krishna because they want to Krishna and cannot be imitated, only can be followed. Faith in the eternal injunctions of the Lord are very important for liberation from karma bondage, because without faith, how will do an niskama karma? We have to understand, we have to have full faith that yes, this is what Krishna has instructed. And thereby we can do the niskama karma. Otherwise, what will happen is we'll think back that why I am doing karmani eva adhikaraste. We have to have a faith on this verse. Even an ordinary man unable to execute such orders becomes liberated. Yes. And in the beginning of Krishna consciousness, one may not fully discharge the injunction of the Lord. However, he is not resentful of this principle and works sincerely without consideration of defeat. Sure to be promoted to the stage of pure consciousness. Several philosophers write comments on Bhagavad Gita with no faith in Krishna. We know the Mayavadis write expert commentaries, and if you look at their lives, not a single, you know, They are walking the talk. So they are speaking something, doing something, just for the sake of speaking, they're speaking. But Gita is to be lived. So why these regulative principles are there? Four regulative principles are there because it has to be lived. So in the four regulative principles are there. What are those principles? So so there is no meat eating, there is no illicit sex, there is no non-veg. I mean, and no gambling. So all these things are there. That's for the purity. That's for the purification process. They will never be liberated from the bondage of fruitive action. Yes. Next is ये त्वत् एतत् अभ्यासुयन्तो नानुतिष्ठन्ति मे नानुतिष्ठन्ति मे मतं सर्वज्ञानं विमूढां स्तान् विद्धि नष्टान् अचेतसः. But those who out of envy disagreed these teachings and do not follow them regularly are to be considered bereft of all knowledge, befooled and ruined in their endeavors for perfection. So envy and disregarding the teachings, if these two things happen, then it is just a case of absolute fall down. Then sadrusham chetasaha स्वस्यः प्रकृतिर्ज्ञानवानपि प्रकृतिं यान्ति भूतानि निग्रहं किं करिष्यति. Even a man of knowledge acts according to his own nature. Nature means all these, four, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Shudra, and Vaishya. For everyone follows the nature he has acquired from the three modes. What can repression accomplish? Okay, so ultimately all these people, like the person who is farming, or the kshatriya who is fighting, or the vaishya who is doing mercantile or mercantise, and even the brahmana who is doing jajana jajana patana patana, everything, ultimately this is for a civilized society, and ultimate aim is to reach Krishna. This is what the aim is. So in indriyas yasyarthe ragadvesya vyavasthitau tayorna vasam agachet tau hi asya paripanthinau. There are principles to regulate attachment. There are principles to regulate attachment and aversion pertaining to the senses and their objects. One should not come under the control of such attachment and aversion because they are stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. There is a caution which is given by Krishna. Is there are two stumbling blocks which is there on the path of self-realization or Krishna consciousness. And these blocks are: one is the attachment to any sense object and through the senses, and second is the aversion. This story we know about Bharata Muni. He was a great austere, great sage, did everything. And at the last moment, he got attached to the deer and got the life of a deer. So such, you know, dangerous enemy is attachment. And also there will be the greatest of the great enemy, which is lust, which will come at the last verse of this chapter. So unrestricted sense enjoyment is the cause of mental encasement, like a bird inside a cage. We are supposed to be a bird inside a cage. It's not our natural habitat. But one who follows the rules of regulations of the revealed scriptures does not become entangled with sense objects. So what is important is that our sadhana bhakti is most important. That every day we chant in a particular time, in a particular place, sitting in a calm place, get up early, do our japa properly, listen to Bhagavatam, then read scripture, read the, books of Prabhupada. So all this have to be done, and it has to be done regularly, non-stop, because otherwise there are only two ways. Either we surrender to Maya or we surrender to Krishna. There is no third way. The whole purpose of detachment from all kinds of sense attachment is ultimately to become situated on the platform of Krishna consciousness. श्रेयान स्वधर्म विगुण परधर्म स्व अनुष्ठिता स्वधर्मे निधनम श्रेय परधर्म भयाभय. It is far better to discharge one's prescribed duties, even though faultily, than another's duties perfectly. Distraction in the course of performing one's own duty is better than engaging in another's duties. For For to follow another's path is dangerous. Supposing an army man is who is army man is a kshatriya. So suppose he is trying to emulate a brahmana. So neither he will be able to do his duty or her duty to save the nation or the protect the nation if the enemy comes. Neither he can do what exactly what brahmana is supposed to do. So therefore, it is important that one must do as per his swadharma and as per his guna. So it is very, very dangerous if we get out our sudharma and try to do something else. It is better to be even, it is saying, it said that it is better to be even faultily do our prescribed duties. We might fail. Maybe the army person had tried his best to kill a terrorist or kill, enemy, but maybe the enemy, he could not defeat. Maybe he got killed by the enemy. Whatever. But still, it is better. So, for a Kshatriya, it is better to be vanquished following the rules of violence than to imitate a Brahmana who follows the principle of non-violence. Everyone has to cleanse his heart by a gradual process, not abruptly. However, when one transcends the modes of material nature and is fully situated in Krishna consciousness, he can perform anything and everything under the direction of the bona fide spiritual master, Parampara. In that complete stage of Krishna consciousness, the Kshatriya may act as a Brahmana or a Brahmana may act as a Kshatriya. These are examples. There is an example of Vishwamitra, there is also an example of for example Vishwamitra was originally Kshatriya, but later on he acted as a Brahmana. And then Parashurama, he was originally a Brahmana, but then he acted as a Kshatriya. In fact, he tried 3 times. He tried, or how many times? 14 times. He has vanquished the Kshatriyas from the earth. Being transcendentally situated, they could do so. But as long as one is on the material platform, he must perform his duties according to the modes of material nature. At the same time, he must have a full sense of Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, it is not, it will be just a case of binding. Uh, okay, we'll have some time. Okay, let's try. So this is the last, in fact, last section, section 5. How much time we have? I've crossed. Can we do a little Hare Krishna? Just want to ask Hare Krishna. Can you continue?
Yes, Hare Krishna, you can continue.
Thank you, Mataji. So this is the last part or last section of chapter 3, that is conquering the ultimate enemy, that is lust. Next, Arjuna asks an important question. After hearing text 3.34, one may determinedly think what he think that yes, from today onward, I'll steadily do my duty and control my attachments and aversions. I'll act according to the Shastra. Many times we think like that. Once we listen to acharyas, to various classes of great gurus, uh, then all these thoughts come to our mind. That okay, from tomorrow I'll get up at 4 o'clock. I'll take a bath. I do my chanting. After that, I see the arti. I see morning arti, tulsi arti, guru puja. I'll see everything, and then I'll continue my chanting. Then I do the scriptural reading. All this we take vows many times, but somehow it doesn't happen. Experienced teachers state that, however, such immediate inspirations may prove difficult to adhere to over time. So, what should we do? Arjuna, being aware of the reality, asked the following question. What does he ask? Arjuna Vacha, Atha kena prayukto yam papam charati purushaha anichan api varshneya balad eva niyojitaha. Two words he has used, anicham and balad. So all this we can see here. It's not that, you know, the the kind of things which are happening, like the envy which is there with everyone, anger we saw every other day, greed, lust, attachment, ignorance. So many things are happening. I mean, it is going beyond that also. Is going to murder, rape. So many things are happening, right? But it is not that all of them were, they were all born to some demons or somebody. In fact, in Kali Yuga, nobody is a demon. The demon and the divine all are in one. And it is not that the moral lessons were not taught in their schools, right? Everything was taught. So therefore, Arjuna is saying, is it something that I don't want? Anicha and also balat, as if something is unwillingly and by force, I am doing a sinful act. And what is that, what is that entity which is making me to do this? Is there some entity? So this is the whole list. It's saying the love transforms into lust when a living entity comes in contact with the material creation. We know this very well. As milk in contact with sour tamarind is transformed into yogurt, sour tamarind or sour anything, vinegar or whatever. So unsatisfied lust turns into wrath. Wrath is what? Anger. Anger in a much larger form. So unsatiated lust. In fact, in the eightfold of fall down also we saw that, right? From contemplation, it goes to attachment, attachment to lust, and then unsated lust to anger. So, and that then goes to the illusion. Illusion continues in the material existence. So, therefore, the existence is called illusion. Lust is the greatest enemy entangling the living entity in the material world. Wrath is the manifestation of the mode of ignorance. See, these are, if we read it, then we understand, yes, there is a direct logical connection and we can build it in a mind. And it is quite logical. That wrath is happening because there is an unsatiated lust. And because of this situation of lust, the illusion is there. Because so much of lust means I am not able to even think. If therefore the mode of passion, instead of being degraded into the mode of ignorance, is elevated to the mode of goodness by the prescribed method of living and acting, and then one can be saved from the degradation of wrath by spiritual attachment. This is the last, but one is important because the situation is such that how to get out of this situation of illusion, how to get out of this mode of passion instead of being degraded into the, because now it is in the mode of passion, then it will eventually degrade to ignorance. So how to get out of this? The only way is by spiritual attachment, because attachment in any case will happen. So attachment detachment, if you look at, detachment from sense object will happen only when the attachment happens to Krishna. Otherwise, there is nothing like a detachment. It is attachment only. Either attachment to senses or sense gratification or attachment to Krishna. So that attachment to Krishna becomes detachment. And thereby only we can get out of this lust and wrath. Kama krodhesha rajoguna samudbhava mahashana mahapatma buddhiyona miham vairinam. The Supreme Personality of God, it said, it is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of contact with the material mode of passion and later transformed into wrath, and which is the all devouring sinful enemy of the world. This is the, you know, nine stage, thinking stage, feeling stage, and willing and stage. By contemplation, one develops attachment. From attachment, the lust comes. When lust is unsatiated, then it brings anger. If then anger, because of the anger, there is a delusion, and from delusion, the bewilderment happens, and from bewilderment, there will be loss of intelligence, and ultimately the complete fall down. We can see on the right hand picture. And the best example is the alcohol. If you take, it exactly fits into that. First, you thinking about alcohol, then and slowly, ultimately he forgets that last time he made an accident and went to jail. धूमेना ब्रियते बन्हीर धूमेना धूमेना ब्रियते बन्हीर यथादर्शो मलेन च यथोल यथोल्बेना व्रतो गर्भस तथा तेने दम्वा आवर्तम. As fire is covered by smoke, as a mirror is covered by dust, or as the embryo is covered by the womb, the living entity is similarly covered by the different degrees of the lust. Different. So lust has different degrees, like these examples. There are 3 degrees, and so 1 degree is we're talking about. The mirror covered by dust is 1 degree. Other degree is the degree of embryo which is covered. Then the third one is the fire, covered by smoke. These are the various degrees. Lust is compared to smoke. It is understood that fire of the living spark can be a little perceived. In other words, when the living entity exhibits his Krishna consciousness, then he may be likened to the fire covered by the smoke. Although fire is necessary where there is smoke, there is no overt manifestation of fire in the early stage. This stage is like the beginning of Krishna consciousness. However, in the lower stage, on the dust on the mirror refers to the cleansing process of the mirror of the mind. Cheto darpana mardhanam. By so many spiritual methods, the best process is to chant the holy name of the Lord Krishna. So when we are chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we are just simply taking out the dust from the mirror, like the lust, which is in the form of a dust on our consciousness. The embryo covered by the womb is an analogy illustrating a helpless position, because for the child in the womb is so helpless that it cannot even move. This stage of living condition can be compared to that of the trees. The trees are also living entities, but they have been put in such a condition of life by such a great exhibition of lust that they are almost void of all consciousness. The covered mirror is compared to the birds and beasts, and the smoke covered fire is compared to the human being. Because the smoke fired, at least, it can be rekindled and the fire can be out. And the rekindling process is what? Is this process of chanting. Sravanam, Kirtanam, Archanam, Bandhanam, Padasemanam, all this. If he makes further development, the fire of spiritual life can be kindled in the human life. Therefore, the human form of life is a chance for living entity to escape the entire. So, therefore, it is called Sudurlava Manava Janma. Why? Because we are only 4 lakh species out of 84 lakhs. In the human form of life, one can conquer the enemy lust by cultivation of Krishna consciousness under the able guidance. So, Guru is a must. Without Guru, it is very difficult. Abrutam jnanam etena jnanino nitya vairina kamarupena kauntaya duspurena malena cha. It is said in the Manusmriti that lust cannot be satiated by any amount of sense enjoyment, just as the fire is never extinguished by a constant supply of fuel. So just imagine that the uh, lust is the fire, and the ghee or the oil is enjoyment. So how much of oil is given to the fire? The fire is just go up rather. It will not go down. So this is the most precarious condition. The enemy has captured different strategic positions in the body of the conditioned soul. So what are the positions? Number one position is the mind. Mind is the center of all activities of the senses, and thus, when we hear about sense objects, the mind generally becomes a reservoir of all ideas of sense gratification. Oh, I want to taste. Okay, I want to, you know, touch. I want to smell. I want to see. All this will happen, and all these are happening in the mind. Next, the intelligence. The intelligence department becomes the capital of such lustful of propensities. So intelligence department is not capturing or it is not doing anything. It is just becoming a capital of the propensities, or rather we can say the what is the propensity? The tendencies. The tendencies are called the propensities. Intelligence is the immediate next door neighbor of the spirit soul. Intelligence is the next door member of the spirit soul. That's how the body we saw as the chariot. Soul is the owner who is sitting, and then the chariot driver is intelligence. So lusty intelligence influences the spirit soul to acquire the false ego and identify itself with matter, and thus with the mind and senses. The spirit soul becomes addicted to enjoying the material senses and mistakes this as a true happiness. And this is how we fall into this conditioned life. This is chariot of the body. We've understood this very well. These are the 5 senses, which are like the 5 horses. The rein is the mind. Intelligence is the driver, and the owner of the vehicle is soul. Right. So, tasmat. So, therefore, tasmat tvam indriyani adau. Therefore, Arjuna, the best of the Bharatas, niyamya Bharatar Sabha, niyamya Bharatar Sabha, papam, pap, papam nam praja, praja hi enam jnana vijnana nasanam. So papanam praja hi enam. So enam, papam, papanam, all these sins you can praja. Praja means you can burn this and all these sins. How? Now he's saying this. Therefore, Arjuna, best of the Bharatas, in the very beginning, curbed this great symbol of sin by doing what? By regulating the senses and slay this destroyer of knowledge and self-realization, which is the jnana vijnana nasanam. Destroy this. The Lord advised Arjuna to regulate the senses from the very beginning so that he could curb the greatest sinful enemy, lust, which destroyed the urge for self-realization. So therefore, in the Gurukulas, we see little children who are Krishna conscious. That is the time. The brahmacharya is the time, the Krishna consciousness is the time when the child, when the person is a child. So this is the degree of covering. We have understood this. So I think no more explanation will be required. These are the various, methods. Lust has different degrees, in the mirror. All this we have understood. So I don't think it is required. So these are the various characteristics of the lust. That cover entity is pure consciousness. Lust is symbol of ignorance. Lust is never satiated. Satisfying the lust is like adding fuel to the fire. All this we want. And how to stop it? Stop feeding it and let it die. Do not feed it. That's the only way. So do not give ghee to it. And what is a ghee? Ghee is basically, if we are engaging our sense to sense objects, that is the ghee. And how and where to put the ghee? The ghee is supposed to be put in the diya or the lamp, which we give it to Tulsi Devi or give it to Krishna. So this is the mind, intelligence, and soul. This is how it is. We have seen the chariot and mind in the center of all activities of the senses, reservoir of ideas for the sense gratification. So all the tendencies and propensities are happening at the level of mind. So like and because of all this, and what are the sitting places of lust? The sitting places of lust are three. Number one is sense, number two is mind, and number three is intelligence. In these three, the lust sits. So if we take care of these three, so we start with intelligence. Intelligence will drive the mind will drive the senses. Then we can get out of the lust, because otherwise the soul gets the false ego or false identification of the body. How to overcome lust? This is what it is. Indriyani Parani ahur indriyabhya param manaha manasastu para buddhir yo buddhehe parastu paratastu saha. The working senses are superior to dull matter. We have seen this. Who is superior to whom? So soul is superior to intelligence, intelligence is superior to mind is superior to senses, and senses are superior to body. So we have to use a higher entity to control the lower entity. Yeah. Okay, we have understood this. So these are various bodily platforms that I think in the 18 days class also we've understood this. So nothing great to understand there. So this is the hierarchy of sitting places of lust. So it sits in mind, it sits in intelligence, and it sits in the different outlets of the in the senses. And this senses engage in the dull matter, like sense objects. How the solution is Krishna consciousness, engaging our senses for five senses for Krishna, hearing for his bhajans, for his different pastimes, then looking at his beautiful face, then listening, then talking. All this we have to use. This is the only way out. So, what is the caution? Even though the soul is the master of intelligence, mind and senses, though it is a master because it is called Kshetragya, unless it is strengthened by Krishna consciousness, there is every chance of falling down due to the agitated mind. So, do not agitate the mind. Evang buddhehe parang buddhva एवं बुद्धेः परं बुद्ध्वा संसप्तभ्यर्तनाम आत्मना जहि शत्रु महाबाहो कामरूपम दुरासदम. Thus, knowing oneself to be transcendental to the material senses, mind and intelligence, O mighty armed Arjuna, one should steady the mind by deliberate spiritual knowledge. That is Krishna consciousness, and thus by spiritual strength conquer this insatiable enemy known as lust. So the only way is to be in the steady mind and in the spiritual intelligence, which is buddhi yoga, and which is not, which is, in other words, in the Krishna consciousness. So material existence of life certainly influenced by propensities of lust and desire for overloading and sense gratification. All this will happen. Krishna consciousness alone, one can control the material senses, the mind, and the intelligence. Gradually developing Krishna consciousness, one can be situated without being influenced by material senses and the mind. And this is a solution. And this is sum total of this chapter. Krishna consciousness and engaging our senses so that we are out of the lust is the sum total of this chapter. And therefore, he or she must be trained in Krishna consciousness by higher intelligence. This is the chapter 3 sections 3.1 to 3.9 dealing with the confusion, renunciation, or working in Niskama Karma. 3.10 to 3.16 from Karma Kanda to Karma Yoga. 3.17 to 3.35 Niskama Karma, acting dutifully with detachment to set the correct example, to become a leader, demonstrate to others. Even Krishna is also engaged in prescribed duties. And the last, the most dangerous enemy, that is lust and anger. Of course, there is a third one also, that is lust, anger, and greed. So this ends the chapter. I took a little more time. Hare Krishna. So